Hi, this is Joe Bonamassa, rocking the airwaves on Backbeat, the rock source.
All music is the same. It's just a new set of lyrics and a new backbeat.
Well, Joe, thanks a lot for taking time out to have a chat with me.
No problem. Thank you. Nice to see you again.
So you come from a long family history of musicians. You were surrounded by music from the word go, and you picked up your first guitar at age 4, and your parents run a guitar shop. So yes. All that considered, how much attention did you receive at such a young age, and how did you cope with it?
Oh, I mean, it's here's the thing. For me, I'm just a guitar player, and I've always played guitar, and I've enjoyed music throughout my life, and I never wanted the attention. I never wanted to. I didn't get into it because I looked at posters of rock stars. Okay, I got into it because I looked at posters of guitars. Okay, and I wanted that old 59 Les Paul, or I wanted that old Strat or whatever. And then I realized, well, in order to make money, you have to play gigs or put out records in order to buy the guitars that are on the wall and the posters. So that's how it all started. And I'm just a guitar geek that's gotten lucky and has been very fortunate in his career, especially in the last 5 to 7 years.
Amazing. I mean, you must have had a field day with your dad, your parents running a guitar shop.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a kid in a candy store in some respects, but it was also like you got your gut full of guitars, but my whole life has been that, though, and it still is to this day. I mean, there's guitars everywhere, and it defines who I am, and I am the guitar, and the guitar is me, and that's what it is, And it's not for everybody, and it seems like, well, Jesus, whole life is very one-dimensional.
Right.
This is the way I choose to live.
American blues influenced British musicians, and now the tables have turned, with the Brits having a large influence on American musicians. Is that poetic justice?
Well, the weird thing is, the first time I heard Crossroads was Cream.
Right.
And the first time I heard The Hunter, the Albert King tune, was from Free. And, that's, I got introduced to the blues through the Brits because the British music was more popular in the States. Led Zeppelin was way more popular than the original guys, in the States. The British invasion, you get the Beatles, you get the Kinks and all those bands, the Stones, all doing blues tunes. And they thought when they'd come over to America that these blues artists were going to be huge, iconic stars. Consequently, these blues artists that ended up coming to Europe are now huge, iconic stars, but can't get arrested in America. Now, 45 years later, everything is flipped. Where I became most popular, the quickest, was in England. Basically, repackaging the British blues, but I'm the American guy doing it. And then we played the Albert Hall, and then PBS aired the Albert Hall in America, and then all of a sudden we played it 4,000, 5,000 people in America. And it's like, it's been a very strange turn of events that you couldn't have predicted. I mean, just if you talk to anybody in the music business, would you ever thought that Joe Bonamassa, and I go, who, would sell that many tickets? He goes, he played where? And how many people came? You'd be like, yeah, I didn't mind. But we're lucky enough to have put out enough albums that have touched people in a certain way that we get lucky to draw a decent crowd.
But if you think about it, PBS is something that is watched across the U.S. and Canada too.
Yeah.
Because I'm Canadian. But it's ironic that something that always fights for funding brings you that recognition. Well,
it started with PBS. It started actually at a channel called Palladia, which is a cable channel run by VH1 and MTV. And they do nothing but live concerts.
Oh, cool.
And they rang us up and they said, can you do an hour edit of Albert Hall? And the thing had been out for a year and a half.
Yeah.
It sold a fair amount of copies, and, it was something we did for ourselves. It was like, because, it was my bar mitzvah. I wanted to take my bar mitzvah, So we did it for ourselves. And then they said, can we have an hour edit? And they aired it, and it got really good ratings, because kind of this kid come out of nowhere, and nobody had heard me, Doing 1,000 seats in the States on, good day. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. And nobody had heard of me, especially in the mainstream. And we did these gigs, and they all of a sudden more people started turning up because they go, I saw him playing it. And then Albany, New York, PBS affiliate,
Mm-hmm.
wanted a different edit for the fund drive because they knew I was from around there.
Right.
And they were going to do a pledge drive based on, oh, here, young kid from upstate New York, here does good. You know.
Hometown boy makes good.
And I think they raised $25,000.
Cool.
In an hour. And then you get a call from another, hey, can we use that too? And it just went like wildfires. And then the National picked it up and it went out. And it was scoring these big numbers because people were seeing it, and I think they used the part where I'm like, hey, listen, I'm just an idiot with a guitar. I can't believe I made it here.
Right.
And check out my new friend. You know, that's how it all worked. And it just, you couldn't have written the script because we never engineered it to be anything other than just something we did for ourselves because we wanted to tape arguably my biggest moment.
Over the past decade, your career has blossomed, including radio shows, you've done magazine columns, extensive website content.
Slice and dice everything.
As well as your generosity in giving back to the up-and-coming generations of music listeners with the Blues in the Schools programs. Now, the engine seems to be still picking up steam. Are you today still pinching yourself?
Absolutely. Why not? I get to play guitar for a living, okay? And I play guitar for a living my whole life. And I can't, you know, there's so many great guitar players. Everybody can shred. Everybody can play. I mean, there's so many great guitar players. There's so many people that work hard. There's so many people that go out there and play more live shows than I do because I get credit for being the road dog. I'm well, if you play as many live shows, I only do 100 a year, maybe 110 on a good day. You know, there's people out there doing 200, driving themselves show to show. I did that. And I can't explain why it's worked to this point. I think it's even exceeded my expectations. It's exceeded Kevin Shirley's expectations. Probably my manager Roy's, if you really want to get the true serum out. It has. But it doesn't stop the original concept. The original concept is I go out there, whether you like the kind of music or not, you can walk away from the show going, he at least enjoys himself up there. You know? He's feeling it. And that's what most people say. Well, you know, I go see one of our gigs, and it's like, Joe's so into it, you know? And it's that enthusiasm, I think, is contagious. And and we've had a couple of good records and a couple of good songs, and you know, Kevin Shirley has done a masterful job in engineering the whole kind of this you know, rise. Well, mentioning Kevin, meeting him was the magic moment which pointed your career in a focused direction. Where do you think you would be today if you hadn't collaborated with him? I don't know. Probably still fat, long hair. I have no idea. I couldn't imagine. In the stars. I have no idea. I mean, the thing is, it's like, where would I be without my manager, Roy? Right. You know, and it's you know, Roy and I have been together 23 years at this point, maybe almost 24 this year, and he's sacrificed everything, you know, and we've built this little cottage business together. And Kevin Shirley came in 8 years ago and basically took our creative direction and gave it a good shot of B12 and a direction and a focus on something other than guitar playing, which was this novel thing called songs and writing. So that's, you know, was a big deal. And over the course of, you know, 8 years, we put out 15, 20 projects. I mean, it's a lot. And, but it's all stuff that I'm proud of and wouldn't change. So you're only as good as the people that support you. Yes. I mean, I get all the credit, but the credit belongs in a lot of places. And Van Zyl, here at Mascot Records here, been our partner since 2005 on all the records, and has really done a wonderful job. You've probably talked to Ben over there and Avert, and you know, these guys, you know, have really done what they said they did and more, and it probably would have, and they would probably admit it's exceeded their expectations. Unusual in this day and age when people just drop you. Well, the other thing is we started our label. We started our label because of that very scenario. I mean, we're not going to go out and work this hard, try to put the records together, go out and beat ourselves down the road, and then have the A&R guy get fired, and then you're out of you know, the whole machine stops.
Right.
It's like we're going to build whether it be a small machine, but it's our machine, and that's basically what we've done.
I was online checking out guitarist Chantel McGregor, who has shared the stage with you.
Oh yeah, she's great.
So why do you think there are so few women guitarists playing in the blues vein?
Well, Bonnie Raitt plays. She's great.
True, she's been around for a few years, yeah.
Yeah, Bonnie Raitt.
But in general,
I don't know. I mean,
there are some really good up and coming. There's
Ellie McKellar from Scotland. She's one of our favorites. I think even my crew says she's the best sit-in we've ever had. She came out and she was on stage at the Hammersmith Odeon, right? And I said to her, I said, you know, really, I go, you want to know how many people are going to be out there or not? She goes, no. And then she goes, okay, tell me. I go, there'll be 5,250, whatever it was. And I said, but the cool thing is you only see about 50 at a time.
That's right.
So don't worry about it. And she got out there and she just grabbed the telly, or a Les Paul, I forgot it was a Les Paul. She had a telly one time, she didn't a Les Paul. Just stepped to the front of the stage and burn the house down.
Cool.
And, you know, and she's 19. You know, and then there's, you know, Joanne Shaw Taylor.
Yeah, from England.
And she's great, you know.
Fantastic.
She's really finding her voice, and she's a great songwriter. So there's a lot of people out there, you know. A lot of women guitar players, but proportionally, I don't know exactly what the percentages would be. I would imagine there are just in the world, right, there are more men that play guitars than women for some reason. You know? But there's some great ones.
You have an extensive collection of guitars and so on. Do you dream about guitars in your sleep?
No.
So it's not that bad.
No. I mean, I have a pretty good collection. I mean, it's, you know.
You ever traded one in that you regretted?
Generally, if I'm willing to get rid of them, there's a reason for it.
Okay.
I mean, there's one or two I wish I had back from back in the days when I had to sell everything I had to sell everything to
make ends meet,
pay the rent.
Yeah. Gold top, maybe.
No, I never did. The gold top my father sold. That was based on the signature model. That was something I could never afford it to begin with because I was 11 years old. So $1,200 to an 11-year-old must have been something of like 1.2 million.
Yeah,
you know?
sure.
But I had a couple of Strats that I wish I had back that I bought from the original owners. I had a couple of things that I wish I would have kept. But in general, I mean, if I still have it, it's because it means something and it's happening. But if I get rid of it, you know, there's the one thing about it. There's so many guitars that were made. There's so many great ones and there's so many bad ones. You know, and you just try to get some nice stuff and go out there and play. Yeah, sure. Unfortunately, I do. I only collect the stuff that I use on the stage.
So I read somewhere you mentioned that you were done writing the usual blues fare and wanted to start telling stories with your music. That's evident since the Ballad of John Henry. Does it get easier with time? Where do you get the inspiration? Well,
you find a little tidbit, you know, like the John Henry was the man versus the machine. You know why I wrote that song, or like got the concept of it? Mm-hmm. Spike Driver Blues, Sunhouse tune, was I'm so bad with technology, computers, anything electronics. It doesn't work for me. Like, it just doesn't work. There's something about it. Like, if I had a nickel for every time somebody said, computer technician said, I've never seen this do this before. I've never seen one do this before. iPhones don't work. I mean, I had this really horrible electric pulse that's instilled in me that makes all digital stuff fail. Mm-hmm. And it was like the man versus the machine. I just was like probably going through my third MacBook Pro or something like that, and it just crashes, and you go, I didn't even know. I never even got started with this thing. So, I mean, it was just one of those things. And so I just got the whole concept of the John Henry thing where the man versus the machine. Mm-hmm. And that was it. And then there's been a few other ones that you just, in your travels, you hear something or you see something. It just kind of keeps going.
Your albums feature cover versions of other people's work. Why does including that appeal to you instead of it all being your own?
Because I don't have an ego about who writes it.
Okay.
My favorite acts were all interpreters as well. The Allman Brothers, they would do blues, Elmore James songs, and Jeff Beck would do, Blues Deluxe is nothing but Gambler's Blues, just with a different title. And all these guys, Zeppelin, they were doing Howlin' Wolf, and they were doing, Willie Dixon. And Eric Clapton, you know, Cream, they were doing I'm So Glad, it was Skip James. And, but they would radically change the version to make it their own. And that's where I kind of cut my teeth, you know, on, you know, Rory Gallagher's and Free's interpretation of these things. And so I never had an ego about who wrote the tune. I just had this desire to find tunes that spoke to me lyrically and then just rearrange them, almost to the point where I've rewritten the tune to where I should have probably just put my own lyrics to it.
B.B. King, your first 59 Les Paul, Royal Albert Hall, Clapton. What's left on the bucket list?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I guess for me, it's material possessions and gigs. That's not how you define your life. It's like, I try to go through the day. I try to, for all the good that happens to me, I try to randomly give somebody something that they don't expect, or do my good deed back. And I think what's left for me, it's like, you can line up all the 59 Les Pauls I own, fill the room with guitars and stuff like that, and it means nothing if you're not a good person. Right. And it means nothing if you're not grateful and if you're entitled. So my thing is it you can do more with less? Yes. Is the passion still there? Do I still want to buy every Les Paul I see? Absolutely. But it doesn't matter when at the end of the day it's just stuff and it's just gigs, you know. But your friendships with people like B.B. King and those people who've done so much to help my career, I feel it a responsibility to help kids that are now getting started with their career. That's what I can do.
I think of Red Rocks in Colorado or Hollywood Bowl. That'd be someplace to play.
I like Red Rocks.
Yeah.
It's a big place though. I mean, like we do Denver, and I think we get 4,500, but that's 9,000. That's a big gig.
That's a great venue, though.
I'm not sure if anything over 5,000 gets a little dodgy.
Impersonal.
It gets a little dodgy for my kind of music because of how immediate it is. So it's not. They're not epic songs. They're very precisely, you know, dynamic. You have to hear all. You don't get the joke if you're 200 rows back. You know, you just go. It just sounds like blues or whatever. You know, you're not hearing the whole. What the intention of it is.
If you could step into a musical time machine, where would you go and why?
I was born in 1944, and I would have been, at that point, 24, 25 in 1966 or 1977. Played the guitar the same way, and I would have fit right in the world. That would have been my time. Because all the music that I loved was there. All the gear that I loved was made there. Things were simpler. You know, you didn't have a cell phone and bank fraud. And you know how many times my credit card get hacked last year? Ask me six times.
Wonderful.
And then you try to hand somebody a $100 bill. Now you can't. They don't even take it. Yeah. So you know, it's like everything now is so digitized. And there's no culture left. It's all some homogenized. I sound like an old curmudgeon, but I am. But no, that would be my ideal time. Musically, historically, I would have lived in that point. You know, a lot of big things were happening.
I can understand that.
Yeah, a lot of big things, both negative and positive, especially in the '60s. But there's not a time like that. And the generations now, they just it's not the same as it is.
Yeah.
You undoubtedly are leaving your mark on the music world. Now, B.B. King said he wanted to retire at 80. He's still working. You're about halfway there, so how would you eventually like to be remembered?
You know what's going to say on my tombstone? I got this covered.
Really?
I got a perfect way to. This is a perfect way to wrap it up. You know what's going to say on my tombstone? Here lies Joe Bonamassa. The bullshit is finally ended. That's it. The BS is ended. That's all I want.